Although winning is a bonus, in this style of competition, it's not such a big deal if the game is lost, it's how the match is played. Yet to lose going into the final clash, Sydney threatened to open its account, but thanks to Hunter Sports High's Steve Gordon and a lot of luck, it was Northern to post the game's first points. But that's where the momentum stopped for the host zone. Sydney quick to reply, Northern practically giving points away. Sydney's Jeremy Gordon scored his first, but it was his groundwork ability to win over the selectors. Kyogle's Simon Peterson promoted his cause at the expense of Sydney's Dean Caldwell, but with very little possession, the Northern Division wasn't given much chance. In the under-15s, Tamworth's Angus McHatton features at prop, while the Hunters' Jake Davis slots into the squad on the bench. The final under-15s match saw Southern well and truly account for the Western Zone. Despite some fancy footwork at halfback, Inverell's Kyalu Brown couldn't secure a state berth, Southern going on to win the match, leaving these trials undefeated. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
Councillors and the community were involved in an anxious wait after rumours in the past 24 hours that the council was about to be scrapped. Early this afternoon, NBN News passed on the decision local government minister Tony Kelly appeared reluctant to. Mary War Council has been abolished. The town will join the new Scone-based Upper Hunter Shire, with the Western farmlands handed to the new Mid-Western Regional Council. Just 1 week after facing a public hearing to oppose the change, the speed of the decision has been branded an insult.
The timelines of the report that went to the Minister on Friday from the Boundaries Commission, who met on Tuesday and Wednesday, was too short a time frame for the Minister to digest that.
The government claims the amalgamations will put the new councils in a stronger financial position in the long term. However, community members say their shire will suffer.
The neighbours didn't want us. We didn't want to go to the neighbours. This isn't an amalgamation. This is the destruction of this town.
Long-time resident Jack Williams is so incensed he'll return his 12-month-old Premier's Award to Bob Carr. The Civic flagpole summed up the situation, an international distress signal being flown at half-mast. The big question in the Upper Hunter is what comes next. There's speculation Muswellbrook Council may now voluntarily merge with the enlarged Upper Hunter Shire Council. And with the state budget just a month away, Lower Hunter councils are being warned that they could be next to face amalgamations. Gary Blair, NBN News.
Assistant coach Craig Miller has been in charge of the Knights all week, and Michael Hagan didn't see the need to change things today. He'll actually miss the team's clash against North Queensland altogether due to Origin 2, so this was seen as the perfect opportunity to see how things would go without him.
It's something that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and I just appreciate Hagues' confidence in me to run the boys in his absence.
And what a first-up test for Miller, juggling injury and Origin concerns.
Mark Hughes hasn't got through a session, so we certainly won't be going that way. We've got no indication so far of what Tamana is doing, so at this stage we're just going without him.
Given a day to rest, Blues stars Denny Badiris and Matt Gidley are expected to play, Gidley at fullback.
At this stage, they've indicated to us they're confident about playing, but again, we ran some blokes there today just to make sure that if they didn't play, that we've done everything needed.
The starting side should be similar to the one that finished against Brisbane, with young forward Daniel Toller the addition on the bench, from which he'll make his top-grade debut. After 7 years at Townsville and the last 2 in Cairns, Brad Davidson only has to wait for the NBL to rubber stamp his deal and he'll be a Hunter Pirate. Originally from the state's north coast, he's a significant buy for the club that continues to recruit hard.
Grew up in northern New South Wales, so Newcastle's a place that I spent a bit of time as a kid, so I'm excited to go back there.
The guard's decision made much easier when he factored in just who'll be coaching. With Adrian Hurley in charge, he can't wait to play as a Pirate.
Everyone I've spoken to loved him coaching him, and he's got one of the best winning records in the NBL with his time in Perth, so yeah, he's obviously got the credentials.
Hunter is hoping to secure the services of talented local product Josh Morgan in the coming days, while a second import remains their main priority. Newcastle Rugby League kicks off tonight, but the match of the round is tomorrow at Raymond Terrace, where the Magpies will be looking to break back into the top 5 against their grand final rivals of last year in Cessnock. Merewether have a big job ahead of them tomorrow in Newcastle and Hunter Rugby Union, trying to stop the unbeaten run of Eastern Districts. And after ending Western's run of wins last weekend, Edgeworth will be hoping to serve Hamilton its first loss of the NBN Soccer League season this weekend as well.
With a crippling lack of rainfall, the Central Coast's water levels recently dropped below 30%, and the region is now desperately searching for the alternatives to fix their water shortage problem. In contrast, the Hunter's total water storage level stands at 80%, with the Chichester Dam at an impressive 95% capacity. Hunter Water attributes that to better situated dams, plus a little more luck with the rainfall. Now, in an effort to help ease the Central Coast's water woes, Hunter Water is looking at selling our water to our southern neighbours.
Well, we've had a request from Gosford Wyong Water Authority to say, can we supply them some water because we've got an existing link between the systems. We're looking at it hard. If we can make it happen, we will. I think there'll be more of this in the future.
Using an existing pipeline, the plan is to supply the Central Coast with 600 million litres of treated drinkable water each year. And while that may sound like a lot of water, it certainly won't stretch us, as it's just 1% of the Hunter's current water supply. And the Hunter's position is set to strengthen with the final construction stage of the Grahamstown Dam expansion now underway north of Raymond Terrace. The project will double the size of the dam's storage capacity by the end of next year. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Given the bye and suspension, come Saturday night, it'll have been 3 weeks since Josh Perry last played. But the break could well have been a blessing in disguise for the big prop.
Now it's like I'm starting the season again. I just can't wait to get out there.
Only a last-minute inclusion to the country team and then being overlooked altogether for the Blues was hard to take for the young prop. But he knows only he can change all that.
I know I've not playing at what I can play, and with this couple of weeks off, maybe that's what I needed, and I can go again and be playing what I can play.
After injury and compassionate leave, Tamana Tahu returns this week as well, in what would be his first game since the Anzac Test.
I think looking forward to getting back into a routine and getting back on the park, and I think that's that would be positive for him and for us.
Tamana's inclusion bolsters a backline still affected by injury, with Matt Gidley remaining at fullback, while Matt Parsons returns to the bench with the return of Perry to the side. No one's sure exactly what to expect from a Parramatta side under plenty of pressure to perform, but the forwards will be ready and waiting for anything.
Yeah, we don't want to be the team that they sort of come out of their slump, and that first 20 minutes is going to be really, really something big, and we've got to tear in that first 20 and hopefully just shut them out of the game.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
There's something very special going on here. Young people in increasing numbers are spending time with the elderly. These students are part of a training course underway for the first time in Newcastle that will give them a nationally recognised certificate in aged care work, in some cases before they've left school.
It's enjoying, seeing the old people and making them happy.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think coming out here to talk to us is a great idea also, because it'll give them some idea of exactly what's ahead of them,
The students spend 1 to 2 days a week with older people, and most will gain their certificate after about 2 years. It's hoped this scheme, run by the Catholic Church and others like it, will help meet the demand for workers to look after Australia's ageing population.
I enjoy it a lot. You get a lot out of it.
They're learning from the older people about life skills, about relationships, so it improves the younger person's quality of life, as well as giving the older person the ability to teach the younger ones about life.
I'm all for it. I think you need more of this.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
A full day on dry land has been a rare experience for Chris Nicholson and Gary Boyd in recent months. The Belmont-based duo has been in international waters preparing for racing in the 49ers class at the Athens Olympics. And it hasn't been all smooth sailing. The Australians finished 5th at the European Regatta in the Netherlands, following up from a 13th in the World Championships a month ago.
Really need to improve. We've shown in the past we can win some regattas, but we've also shown we can go badly.
Despite the form slump, Nicholson sees last weekend's regatta in the Netherlands as a turning point.
As long as we keep seeing improvement in how we're sailing, everything will be fine. And we did see some improvement in the last regatta.
They consider themselves a genuine Olympic medal chance. Their credentials will be tested in the next 2 months, with regattas in Germany and Italy.
And for us, lack of racing in Australia has been a problem. So every trip to Europe we get more and more racing and better prepared for the games.
I think once we iron out just a few of our problem areas, we can become a consistent boat again in the top 3.
Todd Nardi, NBN News.
Although desperate to play tomorrow night, Danielle Harvey says it's the 4 away games to follow she's set on being fit for.
Having travelling on top of playing and training, it tends to take a bit more out of you, so there's not as much time for treatment, and the best thing to do is to get the ankle right.
With Harvey's recovery in mind, coach Maria Lynch has decided to rest the goalkeeper for another week. Among those set to play, Kimberly Gilmore, Kim Purcell and Lara Wellham are preparing to face the very squad the trio was once part of, the Canberra Darters AIS team.
They're obviously going to be very fit, and they're also a young side as well, out there to prove themselves to the Australian coaches, so they're going to be very tough to beat.
After tomorrow night, the Jaegers on the road campaign sees them play in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth before returning back to Newcastle for round 11 on July 16. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
Expressions of interest have opened for the Southland Colliery, which has been idle since last December when an underground fire erupted, forcing owner Gympie Gold into receivership. A second outbreak discovered in March as inspection teams re-entered the mine forced the operation to be placed under care and maintenance. Gympie Gold creditors have given the company's receiver managers until late next month to try and sell the colliery.
It seems that Pecolbin and growth go hand in hand. Approval of a 40-hectare tourist resort, another boost to the already thriving tourism industry. The development on Oakey Road will include 59 two-bedroom units, a library, gym, art gallery and a 2-storey meditation building. There will also be a swimming pool for those warmer months, along with conference facilities and retail buildings.
I'd imagine with this type of tourism development it would be pitched at select markets, but that would be defined by the proponent.
Concerns about the visual impact on neighbouring properties have been addressed. Large-scale vegetation screens will be erected, blocking much of the property from view. Sydney-based developers BDL Management hope to begin construction within 12 months. Meanwhile, a rescission motion has been lodged with Cessnock Council following approval of a Big W store. Some council staff have recommended the proposal be refused because of its poor design. The issue will be discussed on the 16th of June. Colleen West, NBN News.
Coming off a disappointing 36-point loss against Queensland, Scotland was taking all points on offer, while the country Cockatoos matched the visitors in the penalty kicking department. The Scots were kept trialless for 26 minutes until scrum half Graham Beveridge went for a bold blindside dash. The boys from the bush could sniff a big upset when Bowrell's Daniel Drew reduced the deficit to just 10 points before the break. The visitors' motto was obviously Scotland the Brave, taking on Cockatoos prop James McCormack the old-fashioned way. But on the scoreboard, the Scots were unchallenged in the second half, running in 4 tries to win by 38 points. Scotland now plays New South Wales and Samoa before meeting the Wallabies. New South Wales country, meantime, has the chance of finishing the Australian Rugby Shield undefeated when it plays Queensland country on Saturday. Todd Nardi, NBN News.
At Christmas time when we were broken into, they took our playing strips. Who wants playing strips?
Over the past 6 years, this area of land, known as the Tank Paddock, has become hot property. Owner Cole & Allied wanted approval to allow residential development on the 150-hectare site, but environmentalists want the natural beauty left untouched because of its pivotal location in the middle of a proposed greenbelt. Newcastle councillors have backed green groups, voting to ask the State Planning Minister to update the zoning of the land to environmental protection.
The land has been mined and money made out of mining, and it seems really not a big ask to hand that land back to the people for our environment now and in the future.
For supporters of the Lower Hunter Green Corridor, the move by Newcastle Council is expected to bolster their case to reserve the Stockton-Wattagans Green Corridor.
I wouldn't like to put a time on it. I'd like to think it was months, but you've got to be realistic. These things take a long, long time to do.
Cole & Allied is now being asked to consider the environmental benefits it could gain by donating Tank Paddock to the people of Newcastle.
A carbon trade-off in terms of reducing greenhouse emissions. Now, they have responsibilities in this area, and so they may look at it favourably in those terms as well.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
The leader of the pack for 5 years, Ben Kennedy has been ultra-competitive and always aggressive. Unfortunately, he's also often been on the injured list, playing 77 games since the start of the 2000 season. In the end, Newcastle couldn't afford the New South Wales and Australian back rower.
We weren't able, obviously, under our salary cap constraints to match what Manly has offered Ben, and he's unfortunately chosen to accept their offer.
However, Kennedy's decision means Newcastle now has more to offer its other off-contract players. The Knights are confident of re-signing Andrew Johns within the next fortnight, while negotiations are continuing with Tamana Tahu, Kirk Gidley and Clint Newton. It's hoped the likes of Newton and Todd Lowry will fill the Kennedy void.
No, I don't believe we'll be going to the market. We've got some incredibly talented young forwards coming through in the club.
Kennedy could play up to 15 more matches for the Knights, with fans hoping this season will end just like 2001.
Ben's been absolutely tremendous. I don't think I've seen a more passionate footballer.
Todd Nardi, NBN News.
It's a cry that's being heard right across the Hunter, and despite concerted efforts to boost staffing levels at Cessnock and Kurri Kurri, the situation has reached crisis point. There are only 6 fully operational police at Kurri, while the numbers at Cessnock have dropped from 30 to 23 since 2002, and of those, only 16 are available for full duties.
If there is shortages due to sickness at Cessnock, unfortunately our resources come from other local resources, so it further depletes us.
That has resulted in Curry Police Station often being unattended for periods of up to 24 hours. Mr Herring says staff are being overburdened with work and they're often unable to deal with problems that need addressing in their local communities. If the issue can't be resolved following a meeting of the Police Association branch on Wednesday, possible industrial action will follow. The Lower Hunter Command referred all requests for comment to Assistant Commissioner Parsons, who was unavailable. Colleen West, NBN News. De Bortleys is one of the region's newest additions, opening its cellar door at Purcolbin last year. While many small wineries are struggling to remain viable, this family-owned business is looking to expand right here.
Looking at expanding the winery further to a 2,000 tonne capacity, and we envisage probably doing that hopefully over the next five or so years.
The $5 million overhaul will include expansion of the winery, construction of a new cellar door complex complete with cafe.
And the other advantage too with Hunter Valley is obviously the very large tourism infrastructure that's gone into place.
De Bortleys, which is known for its bulk wines, is already exporting products from Griffith and the Yarra Valley to more than 50 countries and eventually hopes to market its Hunter Valley drop internationally. That's expected to give the $100 million family dynasty a very welcome boost.
We see the Hunter Valley being a substantial contribution to the whole company. The whole company is, its main base is in the Riverina.
And like many in the Hunter Valley, the company's 2003 vintage, which was also its first, has been given the thumbs up.
Pristine flavours, beautiful weight, beautiful condition, and just made some sensational wines.
Colleen West, NBN News.
With Adam Woolnough relegated this weekend, his absence has left a gaping hole in Newcastle's pack, a void coaching staff believe Matt Kennedy can fill. Playing all 13 games off the bench this season, the 23-year-old will play in the number 10 jumper against the Roosters.
It's a good opportunity for me, and hopefully I can take it with both hands and put in a good performance against the Roosters on Friday night.
The Knights are banking on the fitness of their Origin reps. However, Ben Kennedy has again been excluded. His chances of playing are remote, to say the least.
The medical advice that we received today is it's more than highly unlikely. Ben still holds on to some faint hope of playing, and I suppose so does the club.
It's been a horror 3 weeks for the club, highlighted by last weekend's big loss to North Queensland. However, the last time they suffered these sorts of mid-season blues, Newcastle went on to win a premiership.
It's a pretty solid team, so we just got to make sure, once again, the young guys pick up their attitude and do a better job than what we did on last Saturday night.
As for Andrew Johns, the Knights have shrugged off rugby's latest and very public attempt to secure the halfback, with the club's CEO Ken Conway still confident of signing Johns beyond 2004. Adam McKilrick, NBN News. It was frustrating enough on the sideline, let alone for these under-15 players, as St Peter's attempted to level things, negotiating a strong wind at the same time. Another wayward shot at goal left St Peter's still chasing the equaliser, but this was Maitland Grosman's day, advancing to the Area 6 regional final. Hunters Sports and Katara High will battle for the other spot this Friday. At the New South Wales Country Baseball Championships, Newcastle's under-18 side made the Central Coast work for every run. Newcastle, in the green, won the final convincingly 7-3. At the state netball titles, Charlestown finished on top with 30 points after 16 games in the under-17 division, while in the Opens, the Lake Macquarie side finished as bridesmaids. And yet another milestone in bowling circles, with the ladies from Belmont Macquarie today celebrating 50 years of club life on the green, marking their half-century with what else but a spider.
Well, I think it's a game for everybody, young and old, and I think the younger people now are finding it's not an old person's game, and that's what's making it exciting. Yeah.
Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
Just what caused the fire in the Eddy Street home is the subject of a forensic police investigation. How Vicky Foster, partner Theo Therapis, 18-month-old Jasmine and 10-week-old Tayton managed to escape with their lives can only be described as miraculous. There were no smoke detectors in the house, but family spokesperson Belinda Mason says her niece Jasmine managed to alert her mother to the life-threatening emergency.
She had started screaming out because the fire had started to get a little bit overpowering in the room. She was screaming and Vicky heard her screaming, went in to double check what was going on.
The family were today being treated in Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital for smoke inhalation. They lost all possessions inside the home, however have some clothing after a load of washing was left out overnight. Relatives say it's hard to believe the extent of the destruction.
I cannot. I'm still in shock. A big fire and how quickly it went through and left with nothing. As quick as, the fire brigade say 13 minutes.
The homes on either side also bore scars from the fire, while the Exepterus family home of 25 years escaped major damage from the 1989 Newcastle earthquake. The heat of today's fire cracked concrete-rendered walls. Bedding in one room caught alight after a window broke. A fire brigade's inspection saw the house declared uninhabitable because of the damage, with the family forced to find alternative accommodation. Gary Blair, NBN News.
Warm water flows day and night from the Araring Power Station on the southwestern shore of Lake Macquarie. In winter, it's a fisherman's dream as bream, tailor and blackfish are drawn to the warmer water. But from now till the end of August, there's no fishing allowed. Between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m, Fisheries says too many tiddlers are being taken.
Small juvenile fish are attracted to this warm water that's coming out of the power stations. And while these small fish are congregating here, they're susceptible to fishing.
Locals like Ray Buchanan blame the ban on out-of-towners with no respect for size or bag limits.
I can understand the ban, but for the locals it ruins their bream fishing because bream fish for night time.
I think there are people that are just taking small fishes, but I think the inspectors should be out here more often.
Locals say on some weekends the shores of the outlet are packed with visitors, mostly from Western Sydney.
I think it's a good idea, Paul, because the juvenile fishing that they catch here over night time is unbelievable at times.
The ban also applies at the Vales Point and Munmora power station outlets. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Since the Australian-led 9 Pacific Nation Regional Assistance Mission arrived in the Solomons nearly a year ago, life for the locals has improved dramatically. Schools are open again, with teachers back on the payroll. During the height of ethnic tensions, some big companies refused to pay any taxes, fearing the money would be stolen. But now some confidence has returned.
Then when we came here and we spoke to them and they saw that there was some honesty in the system now, there were some controls over spending, a lot of people said, OK, now's the time to change and to pay their tax.
Newcastle-based John Hayes is working with the international aid agency AusAid, helping to rebuild the financial infrastructure of the Solomons. During the rebel uprising, finance department workers were traumatised by ongoing corruption and violence towards them. Now that their workplace is a lot safer, attention is being turned to restoring a healthy budget. And while the recent growth in business provides revenue for much-needed facilities, it's also created the biggest challenge for any taxman: enforcing the law.
We'll contact the people that don't want to pay, and there's always a large sector of the community that doesn't want to pay tax, and that's the harder work. But we're doing that, we're doing it now.
This woman is an actor, but her insights into depression are very real.
Sometimes I felt so low, I just didn't want to go on.
A computer program is one of the tools being used by the Hunter Medical Research Institute in a study into depression. Teamed with counselling, it helps deliver what's known as cognitive behavioural therapy, encouraging sufferers to change their depressed view of the world without the use of prescribed drugs.
What we try to do is to make people aware through this therapy of those tendencies, of those those natural inclinations to perhaps put a negative interpretation on things. And the therapy then teaches them how to really assess whether that's valid or not.
The study has been running for a year, and researchers say it's already made a difference to many of the 100 participants. Researchers say they seem to be tapping into an unmet need, with more than half the study participants having had no prior treatment for their depression.
And certainly there was a lot of relief. A lot of these people that we saw hadn't actually spoken to anybody about their symptoms.
The research team is about to reach out to more people in need, expanding the study to about 300 participants over the next 2 years. If you'd like to take part, call the Hunter Centre for Mental Health Studies on 02 4924 6616. Natasha Bayersdorf, NBN News.
A stiff westerly wind made for challenging conditions on Lake Macquarie today, but 96 Atlanta Games veteran David Cameron was on the water to help iron out the bumps.
Rowing can be a pretty complicated sport, but I just like to keep things a little bit simple for them and make sure that they're working on the basics.
Although it's the off-season, rowers at the Hunter Club, based at Booragul, are in training for August's Hunter River Rowing Marathon and September's University Games, and they were grateful for today's star tutor.
We don't really have the opportunity to have coaching like that of someone of David's experience often, and I think it's just invaluable.
David says Australia has a strong rowing team heading to Athens.
They just had a major regatta in Europe last weekend in Lucerne, and I think the men's quad scull won and are looking very strong.
Nine-year-olds Gabby and Emma are best friends on a mission. Side by side, they're training to beat their team record of 100 laps in the Hunter Splash. Quite a challenge given that Gabby is totally blind in her left eye with only low vision and cataracts on the other.
I just try to keep in line with the ropes and keep in line with my friend Emma.
The girls will be joined by 5-year-old Connor and 4-year-old Sam. Both boys attend the Royal Institute for Deaf and Blind Children's Tingera Centre near Newcastle.
You can provide them with strategies to help them make life a little bit easier for them, and you teach them to use the residual vision that they have.
In August, they'll all be splashing their way down the Forum's pool.
That's a cold water.
I'd love to challenge the local businesses and the local community to come and support us, to come and hop in the water and get behind us.
The only rules are that you stay in the water while resting, eating and drinking. But thankfully, there is an exception.
If Mother Nature calls, you're quite welcome to get out of the pool.
Every year, around 700 Australian kids are born deaf or blind. Anyone wanting to take up the Hunter Splash Challenge can log on to the website for details.
In 20 years' time, Newcastle Harbour could be a bustling centre for the Royal Australian Navy's East Coast Fleet. That is, if the Navy is forced out of Garden Island in Sydney Harbour.
Increasing urban pressure, other pressures really on a major naval base in the centre of a city like Sydney are likely to, in the longer term, lead to other options being seriously considered.
Liberal backbencher Bob Baldwin is the latest to put Newcastle forward, and he says there are several sites.
For everywhere ranging from the basin to Dyke Point to parts of the BHP land and in fact even over to Stockton.
The Defence Minister says Newcastle isn't the only port in the running.
Interestingly, one of the Victorian alternatives is starting to push their case. This is a very competitive business, and it's good to see that Newcastle is not going to stand back and watch others. It's going to show initiative, and out of that initiative it might get new opportunities.
Meantime, the federal government is to fund extra noise insulation at the Saltash Public School, where students' lessons are frequently interrupted by jet noise from RAF Base Williamtown. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Always heading to Sydney today to officially sign his new deal with the Sea Eagles, a short trip has turned into a week-long camp with the Blues. Ironically, it was his strong return from injury yesterday against his future club that was enough to earn a call even he didn't expect.
No, I certainly didn't. No, it was a real shock, but a pleasant surprise.
Little Zach was just that for Mark Hughes, who was still celebrating the best day of his life today. His baby boy's arrival early yesterday morning started a memorable day. Hughes went on to score 3 tries in his return match from injury to make it a day the night will always remember.
I thought I was prepared for it, but it was just amazing, and Kira Lee did so well, and it just brought so much joy to us. And
it highlighted a huge day for the club, which began with Andrew Johns officially signing his new deal in front of the home crowd, and finished with a 10-try romp against a hapless Sea Eagles side. Injuring his ankle, Tamana Tahu was always going to struggle to make Origin 3, but selectors didn't even pick the winger or Matt Gidley. As for the winger's future beyond this season, don't expect any news until Tamana's tested his worth on the open market.
I'll probably make a decision maybe at the end of the week or probably next week. I'm in no rush.
The equipment we have is mainly designed for building collapse, to get into buildings, make the areas safe for ourselves and to hopefully save a few lives.
This one features 24 karat gold. These can do something most cars can't. There are some that are about go, while others are just for show. One thing they all have in common is an amazing ability to turn heads.
It's good fun to have a nice car that people look at and appreciate.
Almost every part of a car can and has been modified.
It's addictive. Once you start doing one thing, you just want to keep doing more and more.
From bewitching bonnet art to bulging body kits, there's creative number plates, involved interiors, amazing audio-visual components and accessories to enhance. Even the parts you can't immediately see are given 5-star attention. Why, you might ask? Perhaps the question should be, why not?
Everybody has a car, sure enough, but people just like to express their hobbies and their loves in what they do, and I feel that's why I do up a car, to just show the type of person I am.
Some people smoke, some drink, some gamble. At the end of the day, this is my vice.
All too often, people with modified cars are frowned upon, typecast as hoons, rev heads, the names go on and on. But shouldn't things like creativity and self-expression be encouraged? What these people do could be classified as art.
I like to be different, so I like to buy a car that no one else has actually got first and then do something different with it.
No, it's not a scene just for P-platers. Anyone can be involved. Anyone, from all ages, all walks of life.
Girls are in on the act too.
I think, like, colour-wise and just creative-wise, women probably, you know, are a bit ahead in male sense.
Some people spend their money on properties. Others buy clothes or lash out on expensive holidays. These people pour unbelievable amounts into their cars.
About 35 grand.
I'd say about $40,000.
It's probably around $50,000 to get everything done to this.
80 grand, roughly, and I'd hate to add it up completely.
As you can imagine, there's a healthy industry operating alongside this hobby-cum obsession. Tomorrow night we speak to some of the very smart people cashing in on those car modifications.
It's now 3 years since the Carr government committed itself to pour in $235 million over 7 years to upgrade Lower Hunter health facilities. Of the $84 million allocated so far, John Hunter and Belmont hospitals have been the major recipients. While the long-promised Marta redevelopment is yet to start, the $10.8 million for the hospital in last month's state budget is more a contingency than delivering bricks and mortar.
That's $10 million allocated because it'll be used to progress the planning of the upgrade of the hospital, the colossal upgrade of the hospital, if no contract is let to the private sector.
7 months after that search began for a private sector investor, a deal is yet to be struck.
And these are currently being assessed to see that they deliver value for money for the taxpayer. I'm very optimistic they will.
And a year after Harry's Cafe de Wheels left Hunter Street, Newcastle, a contract to buy that land and build the Newcastle Polyclinic also awaits signatures.
Tenders, I won't reveal how much because we're going through the tender process. We want to get the best deal for the taxpayer.
Although the Premier has this promise.
It's on track and you can be confident it's there in 2006.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
If you've never used the phrase fully sick when talking about board grinds, well, this probably isn't your type of camp, but it would more than likely be the perfect place to offload your kids for the school holidays. 36 young skaters from Newcastle to Sydney have been part of the pilot camp.
The type of activity they're looking for, it's something different, keeps them off the street, and it's a great school holiday entertainment.
The camp is promoting skateboarding not as an idle pastime, rather a sport that requires talent and training. Some of Newcastle's most experienced riders are teaching the youngsters technique and timing.
It's just fun, like you just learn stuff and just learn new tricks and all that sort of stuff. And jumping off ramps and doing that sort of stuff.
They say kids have no fear, and they don't. Forget about mere skate tricks though. At this school holiday camp, the students learn a second language.
Rock the fakie, 50-50 and ollie the box.
You can do stuff and get air.
This week's success has prompted the Sport and Recreation Centre to hold another camp in October. Todd Nardi, NBN News. Whatever happens in the ring this weekend, Ben Steele will be in hospital on Monday morning. All going to plan though, the John Hunter Hospital Intensive Care Unit nurse will simply be showing up for work. The 28-year-old, who knows how to inflict and ease pain, will be hoping to administer some punishment to Moroccan Prince Hamid in the Intercontinental light middleweight bout on Saturday night.
I've done all I can for the fight, so it's up to the night. We'll see what happens on the night, but I'm feeling strong and feeling as if it wins on the cards.
Steele won a world title as an amateur kickboxer. A win this weekend will possibly provide him the chance to fight in Europe later this year for a world professional belt.
They contacted us and asked if we were interested in the fight. So as long as this fight goes well and the training goes well afterwards, it's definitely a good chance.
Warners Bay kickboxer Jared Botha will also be fighting for an international belt on Saturday. Todd Nardi, NBN News.
There's not many people with a more positive outlook on life than Eliza Stankovic, but the 22-year-old is the first to admit she doubted her ability to qualify for the Olympics, resulting in one very pleasant surprise.
The second I crossed the finish line, I'm just like, wow, I've made it into the Olympic demo race, which was something that, was going to be a bonus because I'd already been selected in the Paralympic team.
Eliza is competitive by nature. Even when spending time away from training, she's not far from the track. But PlayStation will take a back seat in coming weeks as Australia's new 800 metres record holder plays the leading role in her very own fairy tale.
Sport had always played such a huge part in my life, and I never dreamt that I'd get to represent my own country, playing sport. So it's just an amazing dream come true. So it's opened so many doors and it's fantastic.
As for the new look,
you see all the African American women, with their braids, and I thought, well, Serena and Venus, if they can do it, I can do it too. So it's the new look for the Games.
From an international field of 8, Eliza's one of 3 Australians to race in the 800 metres demonstration event, along with Louise Savage. In the men's, Newcastle's Kurt Fernley, who's visiting family in the state's central west, has qualified for his second Olympics, recording the fastest heat time to feature in the Athens final. Adam McKilrick, NBN News. This year's State of Origin will long be remembered by many as the Gus Gould-Brad Fittler show. But behind the scenes, nothing could take the shine off Danny Badiris, leading New South Wales to a big win.
I would have been happy just to play in it, but to captain it, it's, not many people get to experience that.
I was very happy for him that we won, and very, very proud of him that when he held up the shield tonight.
After an injury-riddled club season, Ben Kennedy more than made up for it last night, only confirming what many already believed.
If he hadn't have had a game for 2 years, and he said he was right to play tonight, I'd have picked him.
For him to publicly back me before I played and after I played and to pick me put a lot of pressure on me, but that's who you want to play for.
For now, life is far from back to normal for Newcastle's State of Origin reps, expected to savour the moment for some time to come, especially given the Knights have the bye this week.
I'm going to pack my bag, but it's not going to be my boots. I'm going to go somewhere.
I'll enjoy this for half a week at least, and then definitely switch over to the Knights. It's very important to me, that Newcastle Knights, and I want to leave in the right manner.
It was a bittersweet moment for Queensland and Knights coach Michael Hagan, left to watch his clubmen celebrate. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.